Every time something strange happens, it's good that Bart did that. It's very good.
Well, it's still on. 346 consecutive hours. And all because of one little boy who won't let me stop! Anyway, now let's go over and see if Sideshow Mel has any more of those legal, over-the-counter wake-up drugs of his.
Alright. Since this is a different one, I decided to start it off with that again. Because it's important. It is the spirit of the Tala Yashin, or was it? Vashana. Tala Vashana. Because of one little boy who won't let me stop. It's like, yeah, whatever. You see how they invert everything? It's hard to even just keep going over it. Because it's just ridiculous. I need to have different music just so that people who see the video don't mistake them for the same episode. So this is the vault. So I'm just going to go back to what I was doing on the last vault episode, which I think we spoke about Captor being the cops and connecting all that stuff. And I just have tons of random notes that I keep on the side as past notes. And then this is technically past notes. I have my alphabet ready here. So let's see where we're at again. And I make sure to have this every time I open it so I remember. And this in front of it. And then also the Joctonites. He will be small, so he has to build towers so he can see farther. That isn't even a joke. That's just what it is. Alright. Stonehenge. I'm not gonna do Stonehenge. Stonehenge is most likely fake anyway. Wait a minute. Where was it? Uh-oh. I think I got the wrong one. Yep. Oh, wait. I was going over the unholy Roman emperors. It just means set apart. I'll just say set apart. The set apart Roman emperors, according to them, set apart for their purposes, but they're also delusions, so they fulfill the purposes of Elion anyway. Alright. I gotta sit up more so that I'm not like, you know, like that. 1546. Okie dokie. 1355. Why does this guy seem so much later? It's the right page. Alright. Sigismund, King of the Romans, 1410, 1437. Set apart Roman Emperor from 1433 on. It's only a few years, I guess. So let's see if we can do Sigismund. So you have the sh for separating, the gimel for international trade. And what is like invoking a testimony? So what's like invoking a testimony of science, technically, science and international trade? Sigismund. It's actually a pretty good name. He succeeded his brother Venceslas. Yeah, I wonder why I don't have those guys. That's weird. Didn't even know this. Anyway. Maybe I didn't think it was important. He succeeded his brother Venceslas. So like Kessler. It's the Vav. Hang or hook of the testimony of the stars? Ceslas? No. It's, you can go look it up on Google. King of Germany, 1376 to 1400, and King of Bohemia, 1378 to 1419, was the last set apart Roman emperor from the Luxembourg dynasty. So remember, that's Luxor. They're telling you they're Pharaoh's children. By the time he was elected king of the Romans, he was already king of Hungary, which was threatened by the Ottoman Turks. They're in between two wolves, and they mockingly call them hungry. Almost like a jock tonight is at work. And then the Ottoman Turks, literally Ottoman turned into your footstool for Rome. It means Rome. Otto was the first. I mean, you can't make this up. The first after Charlemagne. I wonder why I don't have Charlemagne on here. Sigismund put a lot of effort in ending the Western Schism, hoping to organize a crusade against the Ottomans. Remember, this is just to get soldiers to kill each other. Cease wars by getting the strongest men to just fight against each other. It's just evil. Jock tonight. Wars. The Council of Constance. I need to sit back so I'm not so low. Camera here. The Council of Constance. Remember how I said constant is like eternal? It's blasphemous. 1414 to 1418. Like, what's his face? Buzz Aldrin and Trump. To infinity and beyond. Could be infinity, maybe. I mean, it might be infinity. I think so. Maybe, possibly. Infinity. Constance. If I have a daughter, I'll call her Constance. Ended in the Western Schism. However, the Christian aid in form of a crusade, the crucifiers, never arrived, while the execution of John Huss at Constance prevented him from winning the Bohemian crown after Venceslas's death in 1419. The Czechs, who considered him responsible for Huss's execution, rebelled. It's the Hussite Wars. It's literally, it sounds like Hittite. Against him, it was not until 1436 when he was finally crowned King of Bohemia. He died in 1437 without a male heir, and the House of Luxembourg became extinct, or went into hiding again, went up into the north, like they always do. Sigismund, they go to the far north or the far south. Sigismund's only daughter, Elizabeth of Bohemia, married Albert, Duke of Austria, the later Albert II of Germany, by which the crowns Germany, Hungary, and Bohemia passed to the House of Habsburg. So you have to really pay attention to these bloodlines. These are important. That's why they're always perceived in popular culture as boring. So Frederick III, remember what I said about the chief elf? Frederick III, King of Romans, 1440 to 1493, set apart Roman Emperor starting 1452. He's the first set apart Roman Emperor from the Habsburg dynasty and the last emperor to be crowned in Rome. 1400s, late 1400s, what was being established in the Americas while all this is happening. He succeeded his deceased cousin Albert II of Germany as king of the Romans, while Albert's son, owned by Mormons, Albert's sons. It's a little joke there, but it's probably based on some kind of truth. Albert's son, Ladislaus, I don't know how you pronounce that, the posthumous, his name was the posthumous, that's weird, who was born 4 months after his father's death. Oh, I guess that's why. Succeeded him as Duke of Austria in 1440, King of Hungary in 1444, and King of Bohemia 1453. Frederick acted as guardian to Ladislaus and was crowned set apart Roman Emperor in 1452, but he was unable to establish himself as Ladislaus's agent, or like Magog, his agent of Gog. His agent. 007. Queen's Eyes only. John D. Bohemia and Hungary were after Ladislaus's death in 1457 captured by George of Podebrady and Matthias Corvinus, respectively. So basically the bird-like man of death from God is what that man's name means. Like an eagle, Corvinus. The later also forced Frederick III out of Austria, but the emperor recovered his hereditary lands after Matthias's death in 1490. Although he failed to incorporate Ladislaus's lands into the Holy Roman Empire, he managed to gain the Low Countries, present-day Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and part of northern France. The guy who made the Junker bombers, he owns Luxembourg. Pretty sure. Yeah. Unless he doesn't own it anymore. But look up the owner of the place called Luxembourg. It's owned by somebody, but there's people who live there. Isn't that weird? For the House of Habsburg, by marrying his son Maximilian to Mary of Burgundy, the heiress of the Duchy of Burgundy. So you gotta actually connect all these people in their marriages. Because then, the closer you get to our time, things start making a lot more sense. So next comes Maximilian I, King of the Romans, 1486 to 1519, Holy Roman Emperor from 1493. Maximilian I, the son and successor of Frederick III, introduced new standards in imperial coronation. He did not travel to Rome to receive papal coronation after his father's death, but he declared himself elected Holy Roman Emperor, by which he made the imperial title elective. It's more democratic. His example was followed by all his successors except for Charles V. So you see how it turned into America. You're going to see how it slowly turns into America. That's why America was given authority over the 2 occupied zones in Europe after World War II. And Billy Graham got to be the first preacher to go there. How lucky. Maximilian fled or failed to gain the Burgundian inheritance in Italy, as well as to defeat the rebellious Swiss cantons. However, he laid the foundation for the future rise of the House of Habsburg as one of the most powerful European dynasties through clever policy of marriages. Napoleon did the same thing. He literally just impregnated a bunch of royal women. You can look it up. That's why Trump has the 3 specific women that he's had children with. There's a reason. By marrying his grandson and granddaughter to daughter and son of Ladislaus II of Hungary and Bohemia, he asserted his successors both the Hungarian and Bohemian throne, as well as influence in Central Europe. The 3rd marriage he arranged for his son Philip the Handsome. He married him to Joanna of Castile, daughter of Isabella I of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon. Castile. Aragon. Very familiar. Extended the Habsburg domain to Spain, including Spanish possessions in Italy and the Americas. I haven't pre-read any of this, by the way. I haven't seen any of this in years. That's why it's so exciting for me too, because I'll say things and then I'll read it. And if people think it's fake, I don't care. I am experiencing it right now, and it's fun. So, I put a boot in it. Let's see. Charles V, 1519 to 1556. Get closer. If you read history enough, you can actually picture in your mind the other things in the background happening. That I can't say all of it. You know what I mean? So, you guys got to start reading your history books. Good ones too, not ones that are too recent. Maximilian I was succeeded by his grandson Charles V, King of Spain, from 1515, who united the Holy Roman Empire and the Kingdom of Spain, including the latter's domains in Italy and overseas colonies. Although he was elected Holy Roman Emperor, he also received papal coronation in 1530 and became the last Holy Roman Emperor to be crowned by the Pope. Now, in those 1500s, you'll start seeing the false science arise and try to contradict scripture. Even if the popes were fake or whatever you view it as, they're making a claim to be under something. So God doesn't care. If they make the claim, that's got to actually make it easier for him to force them to do things. Because they're, by their words, submitting their will. So the Most High has free reign to do with them what he wants. That's their folly. So where was I at? Charles Aragon, crowned by the Pope. Charles V spent most of his reign struggling with France over Italy. While the cost of his engagement in the Italian wars provoked a rebellion in Spain, his main failure, however, turned out to be Germany, as he was not able to stop the spread of Reformation, nor limit the independence of the princes. So you can't stop procreation, even if you put an Alex Jones to be Luther. The devil comes to me in the night, and I have to throw things at him and tell him, get away from me, Satan. Like, literally, look up the writings of Martin Luther, and then imagine his voice as Alex Jones, and you're not going to separate it. You're not ever... It's like, this is Alex Jones. I think he was a precursor to the Jesuits. Why the Jesuits even had to be created was because of people demanding, we want to look at the original Greek and Hebrew. We want to start from the Latin and go back to the Greek and go back to the Hebrew. And it's like, if you do that, then it's all this stuff I'm talking about. And it's going to give you a certain amount of freedom and authority physically. And it's going to be, the spiritual is going to be on top of it. The spiritual is going to be just the gravy all on top of it. So where is it at? Charles, struggling. He also failed to achieve a decisive victory over France, but he had weakened it to the extent that it was not able to challenge the House of Habsburg until the 30 Years' War. Remember when I talked about the 30 Years' War? 1618 to 1648. He refused to accept the Peace of Augsburg in 1555, which granted religious freedom to the Lutherans, and abdicated in 1556. See how they had labeled them Lutherans now? If it's not the end, then we're going to have Jonesians or something. Alex Jonesians. Alex Jones is literally... Alex Jones and Trump are a John Birch Society puppets. Trump necessarily isn't a puppet, though. He's somebody they instigate until he acts, kind of like Hitler, because it has to naturally manifest. That's why they're like, oh, Trump has ties to this and Trump has ties to no one. That's what fools people into following him. He has ties to no one. His seal that he created says, Nunquam considere, never acknowledge. He's President Snow in the Hunger Games. Remember, he says, you know, it's not below me to kill women and children, but I'm not wasteful. Trump has no ties to anybody. He's just not wasteful. He'll use whoever he needs in order to get up higher until he fulfills what is written, but it's not good. The good has already been fulfilled in Messiah, so now only the evil can be fulfilled in the anti-Messiah. So, let's see. Religious freedom to the Lutherans and abdicated. Oh, he didn't want to give. So he went. He refused to accept the Peace of Augsburg in 1555. Number 55 is strictly business, which granted religious freedom to the Lutherans, and abdicated in 1556, leaving Spain, the Netherlands, and the kingdom of Naples to his son Philip II. The imperial crown went to his brother Ferdinand I, who was elected king of the Romans in 1531. Remember, it's becoming more Americanized, separation of church and state. Now you just have the state electing the president, the literal president. So a Ferdinand the First. I don't know why I'm not doing the names here. Let's do Maximilian. That's basically what is like the mark of a million, or what is like the mark like multiple testimonies of a scholar. That's probably why million is what it is, because it's hard to explain, but if the way it looks, it's what is like a mark of a million. Million actually means million. It's million. Judge Marilyn Million. I mean, come on. Charles V. So Charles would be like a cop, like a strong cop and a scholar. And it could be with the last part, S can be esh, fire, or ish, man. So why these people choose Charles is important. So now we have Ferdinand, that's para, which is a circle, but it has to do with your mouth. And to invoke a testimony that invokes man. So it makes sense that he's a leader. Ferdinand I, 1558 to 1564. It's already getting hot, and it's only 23 minutes. Whew. Charles V left the Holy Roman Empire to his brother Ferdinand I in 1556, but he was not formally elected Holy Roman Emperor until 1558. Ferdinand's rule was marked by a reconciliatory policy towards the Protestants. Protestants, remember, that just means protesters. They label him, you're fascist, you're communist, you're extremist, you're blah 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 blah. Have you ever seen that? You remember me talking about that Knick Knack cartoon? That's funny. And the music at the end, the guy does that. Blah, 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 blah. Because you don't need words. You don't even need words to describe how simple story of life is. The words are just there as a grace. That's why Messiah is grace. So, Charles V left the Holy Roman Empire to his brother Ferdinand I in 1556, but he was not formally elected Holy Roman Emperor until 1558. Ferdinand's rule was marked by... Oh, I just read this. Maximilian II. Let's go to the next guy. So Maximilian is the same thing. 1564, 1576. Maximilian II succeeded his father Ferdinand I on the latter's death in 1564. Although he sympathized with the Protestants, he remained neutral in religious matters. See, they pass him around. It's like a cat. How cats and lions and leopards and stuff, they play with their food. They did this, or you just gotta read the history of Europe. It's insane. He remained neutral in religious matters. His personal beliefs also did not prevent him from sending his son Rudolph to Spain, his famous wolf, Rudolph, to receive but it's more like infamous because Ru is raw. That's evil. Evil or breaking of pieces evokes a scholar's mouth. Rudolph. But it's supposed to mean famous wolf. To Spain to receive a solid Catholic education, to leave the door open for an eventual succession in Spain, he did nothing to push the Ottomans from Central Europe, and rather brought himself peace by paying tribute for Hungary. Shortly before his death, he got involved in the rivalry for the Polish throne and died while planning to invade Poland. Why do these people keep wanting to invade Poland? Why is it called Poland? We're going to keep going. It's going to keep building up. The Roche is going to build up to America, which is going to be called the aftermath here. Woo! The last one's, I think his name I saw really quick was Francis. Remember the French Revolution? American Revolution? It's not Frank. It's not Frankie. It's Francis. Rudolph II. Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose. It was small. It was a little light. Jockton. And if you ever saw it, you would say he's an alcoholic. Anyway, Maximilian II was succeeded by his eldest son, Rudolph II, known as a great patron of arts and occult sciences, as well as an ineffective ruler. Yep. Many historians consider him responsible for the outbreak of the 30 Years' War because he failed to end religious conflicts in the Holy Roman Empire. His political incompetence, along with worsening of his mental health, it's like a Reagan or something, or a Biden, or made him very unpopular, while his conflict with the Ottoman affairs to his brother, while his conflict with the Ottoman Empire, called the Long War, kind of like the Cold War, but it's not cold there, so they can't call it that, provoked a revolt of his Hungarian subjects in 1604. This does sound kind of like Biden, but Reagan had the same thing. Rudolph was compelled to hand over the Hungarian affairs to his brother Matthias, who gradually gained control over the entire empire. By 1611, Rudolph was left only with the imperial title. He died childless 1 year later. That's very interesting. Very interesting. So, Matthias, 1612 to 1619. Whoever thinks this is boring is boring. They're just projecting. Matthias succeeded his brother Rudolph II as Holy Roman Emperor after the latter's death in 1612. Although he became de facto ruler of the Holy Roman Empire 1 year later, Matthias's rule was troubled by the conflict between the Protestants and the Catholics, while his conciliatory policy was opposed by the Catholic Habsburgs. The aging emperor was unable to prevent the rise of the Catholic fraction of the Habsburg dynasty, most notably his brother Maximilian III, Archduke of Austria. The latter had secured a succession for their cousin Ferdinand, the latter Ferdinand II, whose ultra-Catholicism provoked a rebellion in Bohemia in 1618, which was the immediate cause of the 30 Years' War. You see how they do this? Because they're so weak, they have to cause wars so that you don't pay attention to them. But listen to that. Protestant just means to protest. Catholic is where you get cathode. It's where you get catheter. You can put that together if you want. It's procreative energy. They put something in there and control it. And cathode is like a light and it's communication. It's in batteries. Protestants are protesting. Why? Para, mouth that breaks in pieces. The mark of the splitting of man. Or the dual splitting of man. Could be. That's why they're called ants. It's people of the mark. An, ta, is people of the mark. Okie dokie. So, Catholic and Protestant. I'm none of those. I don't have to be labeled something. You understand? That's what they do. You're a Alex Jonesite. You're a Trumpian. You're a I follow Paul. I follow Apollos. I follow Messiah. It's like first decade of the war. Wait a minute. Ferdinand II. I think I did. Yeah. Ferdinand II, 1619 to 1637. I apologize if I get kind of loopy. It's hot in here. The rule of Ferdinand II was dominated by the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648. He was a devoted Catholic, which probably would not cause him problems if he had not strongly supported anti-Protestant counter-reformation. See, now they have propaganda and the Common Core. As a result, the Bohemian nobles rebelled, deposed him as King of Bohemia, and elected Frederick V, called the Winter King. Dark Winter. Dark Brandon. In 1619, Frederick defeated the Bohemian rebels with an aid of the Catholic League and won back Bohemia in 1620, but the opposition of the Protestant nobles continued and led to an outbreak of one of the most devastating wars in European history. Bohemia is Beth, small house that is like beholding a testimony. Or testimony that is like beholding a small house. What are Bohemians? Bohemians are supposed to be people who don't have much, that don't have much money, and then they're all about arts and poetry and singing and all kinds of stuff. So it makes sense. Bohemia. The first day, and they could be good Bohemians. Could be good gypsies. There could be good people who call themselves Jews. They're good people of everybody. That's how life works. All right. The first decade of the war was relatively successful for Ferdinand. The supreme commander of the Imperial Army, Albert von Wallenstein, and the Catholic League defeated the Danes in 1629. Dannies, the judges. Danites never found a firm inheritance, so they wandered up north, mixed it with Pharaoh's children. Now you have the Vikings and the Danes and all that. Encouraged by the military success, Ferdinand II issued the Edict of Restitution. I want restitution, which revoked the Peace of Augsburg and ordered return of Catholic properties that have been secularized since 1555. This move outraged the Protestant dukes and provoked the Swedish intervention of the war. You see how Protestants protest and then there's a land grab? They do that in America now. They have protests that happen. They burn down buildings. People come in, they buy the properties, and they rebuild something and they make money off of it. It's land grab. Every time. Can't make this up. Can't make it up. So, a series of defeats in the French entry into the war forced the emperor to sign the Peace of Prague. We already went over Prague. 1636, by which he reestablished the Peace of Augsburg and ended the civil war in the Holy Roman Empire. 30 Years' War, however, continued. Ferdinand III, 1637 to 1657. Ferdinand III, who succeeded his father Ferdinand II as Holy Roman Emperor in 1637, also inherited the 30 Years' War. I inherited the war. It wasn't my fault. I got it from Sleepy Joe. All right. Sleepy Grace. Oh no, Sleepy. May he add sleepiness. When he says Sleepy Joe, that means may he add sleepiness. That's what television means. But whatever. Turned into a disaster. He inherited the 30 Years' War, which turned into a disaster after his accession to the throne. Unable to defeat his enemies, he was forced to accept the Peace of Westphalia. Remember, Westphalia is the West's phallic, the West's procreative energy. In 1648, if you follow Europe east to west, from the east to Spain, it looks like, I mean, you can't make this up. It's procreative energy. You can't. Why do you think Eden is most likely in the Mediterranean? Under the Mediterranean, closest place to, in close proximity to Israel. He had to recognize independence of the Netherlands and Switzerland, cede territories in Alsace, however you pronounce that, and Lorraine to France, cede West Pomerania to Sweden, and recognize the sovereignty of the German states, which limited the Habsburg power to the hereditary lands. During the last years of his rule, he focused on securing the succession for his son Leopold I. That's Lion of the that invokes the pole. Remember how they're always trying to get Poland for some reason? It's interesting, the names. It would actually be Leon. I just looked at that right now. Pull that up. Leon. Where did I pull that up from? Never mind, I can't find it. Sorry. Leopold I, that's 1658 to 1705. It's getting closer to the French Revolution and the American Revolution. Remember, revolution is just going in circles. Rebels going in circles. Leopold I managed to restore the Habsburg power by eliminating the Ottoman threat in the east and the French in the west. He repulsed the Ottoman attack on Vienna in 1683, recaptured the entire Hungary. That's weirdly worded. Entire nation of Hungary and the Ottomans by 1699. Oh, recaptured the entire Hungary from the Ottomans in 1699. Restored the imperial authority in Germany and formed the Grand Alliance, which defeated France and under Louis XIV in the 9 Years' War, 1688 to 1697. In 1701, he became embroiled in the War of the Spanish Succession against France, which also dominated the rule of his successor. So remember, this is all Highlander. There can only be one. They're all trying to be the same thing. That's why Putin was a brother of Egypt. It's people of the gift, Putin. 2 Vladimirs. One wears a black yarmulke, one wears a white yarmulke. Literally, in pictures, going to the Wailing Wall. Both of them, both Vladimirs. So it's interesting in the Amish Paradise song. If you've seen that from Weird Al, it goes, "Tonight we're gonna party like it's 1699." I wonder if that's a little joke, even though it's meant to rhyme. 1699 was all this stuff was like reestablished. It was basically make the Holy Roman Empire great again. It's later what I just read from Leopold I. So now next is Joseph I. Now they're thinking they're taking people out of Egypt and taking them to America. You see how even the names are starting to turn into like America being a second Israel when it's not. That's why it bursts the Antichrist, because it's the anti-Israel. It's America. Amer is the Amorites who became Babylonians. They're the lovers, or the ones who love speaking. So it's not actual love, it's lust, and they flirt and they flatter you. That's what that actually means. Amor. Mi amor. Oh, mi amor. Just cuckery. But let's keep reading here. Joseph I 1705 to 1711. Leopold I was succeeded by his eldest son, Joseph I, who was crowned king of the Romans as early as 1690. His brief rule was dominated by the War of the Spanish Succession, in which he achieved several important victories against France. Trump literally looks Spanish, Germanic, Asiatic. He has all these bloodlines. He's the Roche of all these antichrists. You understand? His second major concern was a rebellion in Hungary, which prevented him from fully concentrating on the struggle against Louis XIV of France. He put down the Hungarian revolt only a few days before his death. He died from smallpox in Vienna on April 17th, 1711, aged 32. Very interesting. You know what's really interesting is I keep talking about 2026. I'll be 33 in November 2026. Isn't that weird? Charles the Seventh, or the Sixth, sorry, Charles the Sixth, 1711 to 1740. So this is where you start handing it over to America. It's almost there. Joseph I was succeeded by his brother and the claimant to the Spanish throne, Charles VI. The latter continued to fight for the Spanish succession. However, England withdrew its support after he had been elected Holy Roman Emperor. In 1714, Charles was forced to cede the Spanish throne to Philip. So nunquam concedere, when it says he has to cede. Trump's coat of arms says no ceding, no acknowledging, never acknowledge. That's why he says he never asked for forgiveness. It's on his coat of arms. It's a spear attacking the heavens. Duke of Charles was forced to cede the Spanish throne to Philip, Duke of Anjou, but he received most of the Spanish possession in Italy and Low Countries with the Treaty of the Hague that ended the War of the Quadruple Alliance in 1718 to 1720. He gained Sicily from Savoy in exchange for the island of Sardinia. The emperor achieved a major success against the Ottoman Turks in 1718, but he lost all his territorial gains during the Russo-Austrian-Turkish War, 1735 to 1739. In 1733, he once again got involved in war against France and Spain, this time over the Polish succession. Remember, the U.S. went to war against Spain once. With the Treaty of Vienna that was signed in 1738, he recognized the French candidate for the Polish throne in return for the Duchy of Parma. Moon over Parma, bring my love to me tonight. And international recognition of the Pragmatic Sanction of 1713 that made his daughter Maria Theresa heiress. And if you know who Maria Theresa is, that is insane. This is insane. Russo-Austrian-Turkish War. So remember, FDR was the first Bourbon president. That's French royalty. That's like Louis the 15th and all those guys. Bourbon. Do you understand? Let's see. Next page here. 44. Uh-oh. It's getting closer to America, and we're getting closer to 45. Charles the Seventh. Here we go. 1742 to 1745. Coincidence? I think Nottingham. Charles Albert, Prince Elector of Bavaria and son-in-law of Emperor Joseph I, refused the Pragmatic Sanction on the death of Charles VI in 1740. He allied himself with France and Spain and had himself elected Holy Roman Emperor in 1742, becoming the second and the last emperor from the Wittelsbach dynasty. I think that's part of the 13 black nobility bloodlines, right? Sarah Whittle, Prince of Wittelsbach. I'm quoting Jumanji. So that would be evolved to hang testimony of the Ta, the mark of God, God's house, to hang on the vortex of God's house. That's interesting. There's all kinds of ways you can translate these. That's why it's hard to pick one, because a lot of ways you can see it. It's a multi-dimensional language. However, the supporters of Maria Theresa refused to recognize him as emperor and overran his lands shortly after his coronation. He fled to Frankfurt, where he stayed nearly 3 years without any control over the empire. He returned to Bavaria after the outbreak of the Second Silesian War, 1744 to 1745, and died a few months later. So Teresa is Ta Reasha. It could be Ta Reasha, where it's the mark, the friend of those who cry out. That's how you get like Mother Teresa and this and that. But it could be Ta Ra Sha, the mark of evil that makes to cry out. That's where you get like tyranny, tira, to snort, to breathe vigorously. Francis I, 1745 to 1765, we're getting closer. Francis I, Duke of Lorraine, from 1729 to 1735, Grand Duke of Tuscany, Donald Tusk, look up Donald Tusk, it's kind of weird. From 1737, and the husband of the heiress of the deceased Emperor Charles VI, Maria Theresa, was the first Holy Roman Emperor from the House of Habsburg-Lorraine. Oh, never mind. They didn't put a comma there. The deceased Emperor Charles VI, Maria Theresa. And this guy was the first Holy Roman Emperor from the House of Habsburg-Lorraine. He was elected Holy Roman Emperor in 1745. However, he governed very little. De facto ruler was his wife, Empress Maria Theresa, who bore him 16 children. Well, hey, I mean, that's a lot. But you know, some of these might not have been actually her children, if you know some things, but I could talk about that. It's just like I can mention this stuff right now. So it's kind of like the woman ruling, like Hillary. Hillary was exercising a lot of authority when Clinton was president, and then when Obama was president, he was just golfing all the time, and she was Secretary of State, kind of just doing everything. And she's basically Trump's cousin, like genetically. They're both of the same Scottish bloodline. They look like they can be cousins. It's ridiculous. So Joseph II, 1765 to 1790. So now America's fought the war. Francis I was, after his death in 1765, succeeded by his eldest son, Joseph II. However, he had little authority, as his mother and co-ruler, Maria Theresa, and what Maria means, continued to govern the Holy Roman Empire until her death in 1780, because it means bitterness and rebellion. Mara. As a proponent of enlightened absolutism, Joseph II carried out a series of far-reaching reforms, the most notable of which were the abolishment of serfdom and proclamation of religious toleration, granting religious freedom to all non-Catholics in the Habsburg dominions. They're starting to figure out how to actually shepherd people, but only to get their end result, or what they believe is their end result. However, the opposition to his reforms and failed campaign against the Ottoman Empire forced him to repeal many of his reforms in the last years of his rule. Oh, it's kind of like just politicians not delivering. They make promises and then they rescind it. Leopold II, 1790-1792. Joseph II died childless in 1790 and was succeeded by his brother Leopold II, although he ruled only 2 years, he managed to put down the rebellion in the Austrian Netherlands, modern Belgium, and capture Belgrade and Wallachia. That is the hook of the life of the scholar, or scholars, maybe. From the Ottoman Empire, Wallachia from the Ottoman Empire. He also concluded an alliance with the Prussian king, which foresaw a military intervention against France. Francis II. Oh, wait. So now it's Francis II. This is the last one, supposedly. 1792 to 1806. Look at American history between those two dates. Francis II. 1792 to 1806. The eldest son and successor of Leopold II was the last Holy Roman Emperor and the first Emperor of Austria, 1804 to 1835. Remember Mr. Burns? My country, 'tis of the Austria-Hungary, obey the king. And he's like 100 years old. And then Smithers has to keep going up to him. Oh, then what happened? World War II. Stupid. And it's like, what the? They told him to come to this opening ceremony and sing the national anthem, and that's what he sung. And he had to tell him how fast it turned into America. You can't make this up. His rule as Holy Roman Emperor was dominated by the French Revolutionary Wars and later the Napoleonic Wars. He joined the coalition against the revolutionary France shortly after his accession to the throne, but after the devastating defeat of the Third Coalition against Napoleon Bonaparte, it's basically like son of apartheid, Bonaparte. In the Battle of Austerlitz, Francis II was forced to sign a Treaty of Pressburg. Now Media is ruler, the body of the beast, the 8th. That belongs to the 7th. In 1805, which de facto dissolved the Holy Roman Empire. Remember, Holy Roman Empire was not dissolved. It fell over into America, and now it's America. The Soviet Union did not dissolve. It toppled over and fell into a basket called Israel. De facto dissolved the Holy Roman Empire. From 1806 onwards, he used Francis I of Austria as his only title. That's why in the First World War they claim it was the heir to this throne that got killed. And then World War II, you get a guy named Hitler that for some reason looks exactly like the guy who got shot. Like he's the same phenotype. And then he's opposed, Hitler, by a man who's the first Bourbon president. That's French royalty. That's King Louis XV and all those guys. You can't make this up. This isn't misinformation. This is historical fact. I'm reading it. These things are from Wikipedia. You can find this in history books. You can find it on other websites. It's not hidden. Obama phone. You hear the birds. So aftermath. As Emperor of Austria, Francis continued to support the opposition against the Napoleonic France, despite the fact that he had married his daughter, Marie-Louise, to Napoleon in 1810. Yeah, he once again joined the coalition against France in 1813 and played an important role in Napoleon's final defeat. After the Congress of Vienna in 1815, Austria emerged as one of the leading European great powers, while the House of Habsburg-Lorraine continued to rule the Empire of Austria. From 1867, known as the Austro-Hungarian Empire, until the end of World War I in 1918. And then what happened in that time, too? Woodrow Wilson admitted after, I just signed away the country to a few bankers. Because it's always been a corporation. You can't make this up. It's history. It's quotes by the president. And everybody just watches the television and goes to sleep. And that's what it means in Hebrew. That's wild. So, that's the end of the Holy Roman Empire. Build an empire. Now the Ottoman Empire. The more I got, the Mr. Roboto. Has he lost his mind? Can he see or is he blind? Can he walk at all? Or if he moves it, will he fall? Ottoman Empire. Hey, Ottoman. Ottoman drives a school bus. Right on the magic school bus. Rock the river of love. Oh, magic school bus. Navigating nostril. Can't make this stuff up, man. It's just everywhere. It's everywhere, constantly, beating you in the eyes and face and brain and everything. If you choose to see it, and then it drives you mad if like 90% of people are like, huh? Something's wrong with the microwave. What's microwaves are bad? The microwave makes me happy. It's too hot in here. I'm sweating. I'm gonna take a break and I'm gonna go over the Ottoman Empire, the footstool of Rome, literally. And I'll just go on for 380 something consecutive hours because of one orange man who won't let me stop. So let me turn this music on again. Wild.
Every time something strange happens, it's good that Bart did that. It's very good.
Well, it's still on. 346 consecutive hours. And all because of one little boy who won't let me stop! Anyway, now let's go over and see if Sideshow Mel has any more of those legal, over-the-counter wake-up drugs of his.